Good afternoon, YouTube. So I made it so far to Denver, Colorado. Colorado still has its chain laws in effect through the end of May, and I'm going to be going through on Interstate 70. So I had to stop at a place and pick up some chains, and so it's about, according to the truck thermometer, 51 degrees here. And it's been a little windy all day long. It's not really terribly windy right here anyway. Now I'm going to be going on. I don't know, I can drive probably about three more hours or a little less. So that's going to take me, I don't know, I expect to get quite a ways west of Denver. So it's now hours later. I have made it west of Denver. I've stopped, I don't know where. It's at, there are a number of scenic pullouts, and so I don't know, I'm a ways west of, I guess it would be the Eisenhower Tunnel. So I'm west of the tunnels, and there was, I don't know, there was one scenic pullout, and then there's a second one, and so I decided I would go ahead and stop right here. I had about an hour and 13 minutes left to drive, but figured I might as well stop here. Right now I've got 900, and had to look there at the GPS, 905 miles to go. So I've got Wednesday, tomorrow, and then Thursday, and then the load unloads Friday morning at 6 a.m. in Redlands, California. And so there is snow on the ground. You get a little bit west of Denver, and there is snow on the ground. I don't know exactly when it fell, maybe yesterday. The road was a little bit wet in a couple of places, but there was no problem at all so far. It's actually a clear night. You know, there were a few clouds earlier, and you know, I could see the moon, and you know, there's a full moon out. At least I don't know how long it was out, but there was. I saw it earlier. And then I can see stars. Now, I don't know what the forecast is supposed to be. It's kind of, these mountains sort of make their own weather. So, but I don't anticipate having any problems. I have the chains, so I'm legal, as you're required to carry them. Starting sometime in September, and then through the end of May, you're required to carry them between the most troublesome area here on I-70. And so I've got them, and you know, at some point I'll give them back maybe. I don't really, you know, because we used to carry them around all the time. They would just automatically be, you know, on the truck. They just leave them. And then they sort of got away from that because of the extra weight of the tractors. All of the tractors, or most of our tractors now, have some sort of so-called idle reduction equipment. Of course, the truck I have has a battery-operated air conditioner and a fuel-fired heater, which I'm actually using right now. You may be able to hear the fan back here in the sleeper. So I am using the fuel-fired heater. It's when I stopped, it was about 24 degrees. I saw a temperature as low as 21. I think that was when I was going through those tunnels. Of course, that's a little over 11,000 feet where those tunnels are at, and so it was a higher elevation. Right here, I think I looked earlier, I'm right around 8,000 feet, And so that has a lot to do with the temperature, and so it's certainly cold enough to use that heater. So that, but the fuel-fired heater and the battery-operated air conditioner do add a certain amount of weight to the truck, and so that's why they went ahead and removed stopped us from having to carry the chains around all the time. As well, we used to also carry a spare tire on the, kind of tied to the back of the truck, and they had a special rack on every truck with a spare tire. In case we needed a tire, we didn't have to buy one. The company buys them in bulk, and so I'd have to use with those once in a while. But they did away with that as well on all the new trucks. They just kind of did away with that idea because the weight savings. Because I don't know how much those tires weighed, but you had the tire and the chains, and that was probably at least, I'm guessing, 500 pounds. And so that may be, I don't know what how much weight this air conditioner and the fuel-fired heater adds, but it adds some. So, but in any case, I've got the chains, and they're in sacks. They were nice and neat and clean, so the sacks are. So maybe at some point I can just kind of turn them back in if I don't want to carry them around. I've got them. I really didn't have any place for them in the side pocket, and so what I did, I piled them into the passenger side floor. So nobody rides over there anyway, so they're there. But so in any case, I recorded a podcast last night, an audio podcast. It had been a few days since I recorded one, and I may record another one tonight. Lately, I've been sort of interested in the topic of quantum physics. It's a fascinating topic. There are a number of different videos on YouTube that do a pretty good job of explaining it. They don't really teach that in school, and maybe they teach it a little bit. They might touch on it a little bit, or if they do, it's done in such a way that it makes it very dry and boring, a dry and boring topic. It's actually quite fascinating. It's a fascinating topic, and but there's this thing called a double slit experiment. And if you've been listening to my audio podcast, I've talked about it, and I played some audio from this video on YouTube that does an excellent job of explaining what the double slit experiment is. But basically, they've done this experiment for the past 75 years at least, and essentially what they found was that quantum particles, including electrons and photons, behave as waves. When you put them through a double slit, instead of getting a single, like if you have a single slit, you're going to get a single shadow that's cast on the wall. But if you have a double slit, that's the right distance apart, from the light source, and then the right distance from the light source, and the two slits, you're going to get an interference pattern indicating that it's waves, as opposed to two shadows on the wall. You'll actually get a number of slits, where you shouldn't even have any. Yeah, and on the wall, the thing behind it, the screen behind it, that you're projecting it onto through those slits. And they've done this experiment with electrons over and over and over again. And what they've found is that if the scientists try to figure out, well, where is this particle going through, and they fired them one at a time even to try to determine, did they go through this slit or did it go through that slit, then the behavior of it changes. That's right, the behavior of the electrons change. And so then it collapses into an electron, and then there, you're able to measure it, and then, oh, there it is, it's a particle, it went through this one. Well, that changes the behavior. Then you no longer have the wave function at the back. But if you're not measuring it, then you get this interference pattern on the screen behind. That's so it's the power of our consciousness that our awareness, our consciousness as human beings, that causes the behavior change. That's pretty profound. Are you aware of that? Have you ever heard of that? Look up the double slit experiment. Now, the article on Wikipedia is poorly written. It's written in really arcane language, and you're gonna probably read part of it and think this is horrible. I can't make heads or tails of this. Look it up on YouTube. There's an excellent video that's kind of aimed at children. It's animated, called Dr. Quantum, that does a superb job of explaining the double slit experiment. And it's been, as I say, it's been done over and over and over again. There are modern variations of it that have been performed. And at the quantum level, the very, very tiny level of quantum particles, you get very, very strange behavior. So our consciousness, as human beings, our consciousness, if we're aware of that particle, it collapses the wave into a particle. And so what that tells me is that our awareness, it's all, the people explain it, well, it's almost as if the particle knows that it's being measured, and so therefore then it shows up as a particle. What if it's our consciousness that is causing the collapsing the randomness into a particle? Because I don't think the particle's really aware of anything per se. I think that it's our consciousness that is collapsing the particle, from the just the random. I'm looking for a word and it's not coming to me, but sort of the random, because otherwise it's just probability's the word I'm looking for. It collapses the probability to an actual particle. And so if our consciousness is that profound, if our consciousness can do that, just in a simple act of measuring to see where the particle goes through the slit at, that tells me, what other things are we missing about our consciousness. Furthermore, there's this thing called a Turing test. If you're aware of computers and the people that want to believe that we can make computers that are conscious and so on and so forth. And so this guy, Edward Turing, came up with his Turing test, and his Turing test was, well, if you are able to somehow chat with an artificial intelligence, and you can't tell the difference between if it's a real person or if it's an if it's a machine intelligence, therefore it's good enough. The thing is intelligent, it's aware. No, it's not. We'll call this the TruckerTom test. Here's the test you put it to. Have your artificial intelligence measure the particle in the double slit experiment. And then if the computer is conscious, if the computer consciousness, put that in quotes, if it can cause, without any human intervention, If it can cause the wave to collapse into a particle, then the computer is conscious. The computer has the same quality of consciousness that human beings have, the consciousness that human beings have. But if it doesn't, then it's just an adding machine. I contend that no matter how sophisticated you make your computer, no matter how sophisticated you make the algorithms, it's still an adding machine. It's just an instruction set. It's not conscious. It cannot be conscious. It'll never be conscious. That's the ultimate test. That's the TruckerTom test. Use my name. I've never heard it, I don't think anybody's thought of that, but that's the ultimate test. That's the test for artificial intelligence. That's the test to determine if a computer is really conscious or not. I don't think I don't think a computer can ever be conscious. Human beings we cannot create consciousness other than replicating ourselves through reproducing ourselves. Biologically reproducing ourselves, we can create consciousness that way. We're sort of extending it, but we cannot, we're sort of passing the fire along, but we can't, kind of create it from scratch. Can't be done. And it would also be interesting, if you had train a monkey to measure the particle. Of course, the monkey would have to understand what it was doing. I don't think a monkey awareness would be able to collapse the particle. To collapse the wave function into a particle. So, a double slit experiment is profound. It has some really profound implications. So that's kind of what I've been, thinking about lately, and very, very interesting. So, anyway, from wherever it is I'm at in Colorado, west of Denver, somewhere in the mountains, in a pull-off area, scenic pull-off area, I'll catch you later.